it is only, ooh, what day was that? 26, 27, 28. 2 days have gone by. Sorry, two, whichever. Whichever doesn't offend you, you choose that one. And I'm going to have a quick look in on the Cyser, because there's not enough room in there for the apples that I've put in. It's all kind of congealed, lots of it's in the air. Ideally, I don't want it exposed to the air as much as possible because it can harbour mould. Now there's 16% alcohol in there, so the chances are it's not going to be able to, but who knows, it might. So I've got a new fermenter. This is for making melomels, because I'm currently using this bit. It's there, I can't be bothered to lift it up, but it's one of these. It's really, really big. Subtle plugs, like left-handed giant, some Texas Girl Cyser, NoFX, Tiny Rebel, Chewin' Brews, Mash Gang, North Bruco, Tiny Rebel, Love Corn, Siren, more Tiny Rebel, more Love Corn, and more Tiny Rebel. If you want to send me some stickers from your company, if it's to do with beer, mead or anything, you let me know and you can send me some stickers and I'll happily put them on my new fermenter. Right then, so yes, I'm going to rack this off into there. I'm going to try and get those apples out. I'm not sure how efficient that's going to be, but we're going to give it a go anyway. So we're going to speed this all up because it's really, really boring and you've seen it 100 times before. That's the beverage out, liquid wise. Now we're going to try and get the apples out. Happy days. Well, that was a lot of effort. A hell of a lot of effort. I'm going to take a taste test to see whether the 2 days of just having them in has added any sweetness whatsoever. I'm not going to do a hydrometer reading because I'm not really interested as to whether it's added any ABV. But what I am going to do, I'm going to take a nice big swodge of this because there's a load of yeast at the bottom. Now I plan to add honey to this. Well, it's not essentially yeast. Well, it is, but dead yeast, possibly. And I'm just going to give that a little jiggle around and then I'm going to put it back in there. Reason being is if there's any active yeast in there, when I put some honey in, which I'm going to do now because I needed it to be sweet anyway, so I may as well do it while I've got the ferment open. Now that looks a hell of a lot better to me. If we can just have a quick goz at that. It's more evenly spaced out. It's going to be a little bit better at doing that. So I'm going to get myself some honey. Now, what honey did I use for this? I used acacia honey. So last reading it was down to 0.996, which is extremely dry. I want it around the 10 level. City Steadings say that 1 pound of honey gives you approximately, that's probably a US pound, 1 pound of honey gives you approximately 35 fermentable things on the hydrometer. So 1 pound is about 400 grams. I don't know, I can't convert it. But I'm going to use half of this. I'm going to weigh what this weighs at. Yeah. And I'm just going to put half in, then take a hydrometer reading. And we'll know that way. So that's 365 with the container. So we're going to do half of that, but I'm going to speed it up because it's boring. Right, so that's 170 grams of acacia honey added to sweeten things back up from its dryness. And now we're going to gently work that in. Although I've put it over the top of the apple, sorry, what I should have done is put the honey in first, then put the apples on after. But it's not a problem because we're taking the CO2 out of it anyway. So it gives us a flatter beverage. It's not going to be carbonated when it goes into the thing, into bottles. Mixing honey is a pain in the arse, by the way, if you didn't know that. So be prepared to mix for a very long time. In fact, yeah, I'm going to speed it up because I really can't be bothered. So we've racked it off, we've added honey. Make down a note of how much honey you've added. What date you did it on, so now it's 28th, 22, we added 170 grams of acacia honey. Right, I've just had a wee taste of that and it smells a little bit lighter. There's definitely a high content of alcohol in there. You can smell that straight off the bat, which I'm hoping now the honey that I've put in is going to mask. Now this is the sample before I added the honey. That's very nice. Even only after 2 days of the dried apples in there, that's actually pretty darn nice compared to what it was 2 days ago, where it was like, I mean, granted I wasn't ready for it, but it was a slap in the face. It was almost sour. It was like so dry. There was no residual sugars at all. It was completely gone. But that's really nice. I kind of wish that I haven't put the honey in now. I wish I'd have tasted this before putting the honey in. Because it's nice to have different styles of mead. Like normally you expect them all to be really, really sweet, but they don't have to be sweet. You can have them dry. Now that was still dry when I just sampled it then, but the added fruit has then brought it back round a little bit, which gives it that natural sweetness, I'd say. Right, so now that's all that in, we're going to take another hydrometer test. Did we even do a hydrometer test? No, we didn't, but we're going to do one. The reason why we didn't do one is because I didn't think I was going to be adding the honey at that point. I knew that I was going to be doing it later on. But yeah, it's going to be able to use those apples up now and just probably get more out of it instead of them all just being floating above it, which is not what you want really. So we're going to take a hydrometer reading of this now. Now that the honey's all mixed in. We'll see where we're at. I'm hoping for about 12, because that's just on the line where it's still slightly dry-ish, but it's also got that like a charming level of sweetness. And then of course we get to try it again, which is always the best part. I can't believe it, it's actually on 12. Did I say 12 or 10? That's really good. The reason why we're taking a hydrometer test is to see whether after this has been left for another week or so, we come back, check it, then we see whether any of it's gone down, if the yeast has activated again and then started taking on the sugars, thus creating more alcohol. Now it's close to the tolerance of the yeast. The yeast tolerance that I use is Mangrove Jack's, and the yeast tolerance of that is 18%. After 18%, it's probably going to die. Just before 18%, it might die. If it goes past 18%, Bloody hell, wow. Let's have some of that. So yeah, hydrometer test on the 28th is 1.012. GB 1.012. What are you barking at, Doggington? So obviously, as well, yeah, we're gonna have a wee test of this. Not too much because it's the middle of the day, and that can go back in there because everything was sanitized. As always. Still smells like a really high alcohol content. It's not really masked by the sugar, the honey, sorry. Still a bit of a kick from the apple juice, but that's all right. That's actually all right. So now I'm going to leave them in there about a week with the honey. We'll come back, we'll do another hydrometer test. We'll see whether it's taken any more of the sugars on. If it has, we'll have to wait a little bit longer, take another reading, make sure both readings are as near as damn it. I have bottled one that was only 2 points down from what it was the week before. So it's taken a week for 2 points to ferment. That means it's pretty much done. So now, on my little baby fermenter, which is by Bigger Jugs, brewing something special. Biggerjugs.co.uk if you want one of these. I can't vouch for it being any good. I've not used it yet. This is the first time using it. It looks all right. The seal seems okay. Seems to click all right, but only time will tell with these things. So don't rush out and buy one yet until I tell you whether they're decent or not. The whole thing comes as a kit. You get the bucket, the lid. It's already drilled. It's got the rubber bung, and dun 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 dun. Where the bloody hell's that? Dun 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 dun. You also get the bubbler. Yeah, it's even got an important please note. To ensure good seal, use petroleum jelly, aka Vaseline, around the airlock fitting, lid seal and tap area. I don't have a tap. Do not lift large bucket when full unless the lid is firmly on. Right, so we'll see what this does then. It was starting a bit of activity just in there. Now that's a lot better. I mean, there's still a lot of air room in there, but it's nothing compared to the air room in there. Now that's going to get racked off in a second on a different video. That's the exotic melomel. We'll talk about that in a second on the other video. But yeah, that's going to get racked off the fruit now and into a demijohn. We're going to taste it, possibly add honey. Woohoo! I need a beehive. That's what I bloody well need. Take it easy, guys. Just before I do go, talking about stickers, I've just gone through to look through the beer that I've got for this weekend from Totally Brewed, and look what they got me. They gave me a sticker! So that is going to be the first sticker that's going on the Bigger Jugs bucket. I'm going to call this bucket Big Betty. Big Betty's Bigger Jugs. And there you have it. Totally Brewed. Local brewery. Soundest people you'll ever meet. And now they've got their sticker on the side of my bucket. Woohoo! Happy days.